Biden has just announced that he is dropping out of the 2024 presidential race. In a stunning letter that was just released moments ago by his campaign on X, formerly known as Twitter, Biden wrote, quote, that it has been the greatest honor of my life to serve as your president, and while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term. He goes on to say that he will speak to the nation later this week in more detail about his decision. Just a stunning announcement from President Joe Biden that he intends to step down as a candidate in the 2024 election. I want to go straight to CNN White House correspondent Priscilla Alvarez, who is traveling with President Biden in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. Priscilla, what are you learning?
Alex, this is a remarkable development, and it comes after a morning in which we heard more calls for the president to step down from members of his party, including, for example, Senator Joe Manchin. Now, the president in this letter released only moments ago walks through his accomplishments as president. And also, if I can read you this part, it says, "It has been the greatest honor of my life to serve as your president." He goes on to say, while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term. He goes on to say he plans to speak to the nation later this week. He also thanks Vice President Kamala Harris for, quote, being an extraordinary partner in all of this work. Now, of course, Alex, this comes after that disastrous debate performance by the president in late June. It was after that stoked so much anxiety and panic within the Democratic Party and led to a wave of calls over recent weeks for the president to step aside, to withdraw from this race. And this was something that, despite the president getting back on the campaign trail, despite private conversations with multiple lawmakers, and despite a campaign that up until this point had been maintained, even just yesterday, that he was in this race, it appears that we hit that breaking point. Now, of course, the president has been at his residence here in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. He has been self-isolating because he was diagnosed with COVID earlier in the week. It was that diagnosis that pulled him off of the campaign trail at a pivotal moment. He was in Nevada. He was shoring up support with Black and Latino voters. And it was before one of his last events that he got that positive COVID diagnosis and had to be blitzed back here to the East Coast, to Delaware, where he has since been self-isolating. It has been during that time that he's also been deliberating. He is with his closest advisors and his inner circle in what has been a challenging and at times frustrating time for this campaign. Now, we should also note, Alex, that earlier today on the airwaves, the president's allies were saying that he was in it to win it. Again, this was the resounding message that we were getting from the campaign time and time again. But this letter tells us that the president, upon self-reflection, upon all of the calls from Democratic lawmakers, allies, and donors for him to step aside, has listened to those calls and has decided to not seek re-election in what we really just cannot overstate how remarkable a moment this is. We are on the cusp of the Democratic National Convention. There have been ongoing calls to get that process underway for that virtual roll call. And now so many open-ended questions as to what happens next. We should note Vice President Kamala Harris was at a fundraiser in Massachusetts yesterday, where she too was focused on the vice presidential nominee for the Republicans, J.D. Vance. She was trying to gin up those donor dollars amid some donors deciding not to give money because of all the questions of this campaign. Of course, we'll keep eyes on her. She is in Washington, D.C. today. Many questions moving forward. But one thing has been answered, Alex, and that is that the president will not seek re-election after what has been multiple Democratic lawmakers and allies coming forward to say it was time for him to withdraw. Alex.
Yeah, Priscilla, this was announced by President Biden in a letter from the president addressed to my fellow Americans just 14 minutes ago on his X profile. It's not long. It's just one page. You mentioned Vice President Kamala Harris. He says in the second to last graph, that he wants to thank Vice President Kamala Harris for being an extraordinary partner in all of this work. And let me express my heartfelt appreciation to the American people for the faith and trust you have placed in me. Priscilla, you mentioned all the questions. Of course, one of the biggest is going to be, does this automatically mean that Vice President Kamala Harris becomes the nominee of the Democratic Party? Will there be a bit more of a competition to figure out who will be the nominee? Will President Biden endorse his vice president as that nominee? But I just want to get back to this question, Priscilla, of timing. Of course, we have seen the pressure growing from within the Democratic Party. We've seen a growing number, 36 or so Democrats coming forward publicly, lawmakers, to say that they don't believe that President Biden should be running. One of the latest is Senator Joe Manchin. He, of course, is an independent now. He's a longtime Democrat, close to the president. But it was not clear that Biden was going to be making this decision, and it certainly was not clear that he was going to be doing so today. So as of 15 minutes ago, Priscilla, where were we? And how does that make what we now know, this announcement now from President Biden, all the more shocking?
Where we were was that the campaign, his allies, had said he was staying in this race. That is what we were hearing over the course of the morning, including from his campaign co-chairs. But Alex, what everyone told us, what multiple sources told CNN is that this was ultimately the president's decision to make, that he was going to sit with this, that he was going to have those private conversations, including with his family, some of the most pivotal people influential people in his life and pivotal moments. And it was going to be ultimately his decision to make. And that is what I think this letter captures in this moment, is that after that self-reflection, he decided it was not, it didn't make any more sense for him to stick it out and do this re-election. Now, I will say, because you mentioned Vice President Kamala Harris, I had been talking to sources over the last several weeks, and what they all told me is that there was no daylight between the vice president and the president, that she was fiercely behind him, and that she was continuing this campaign as the Biden-Harris ticket. Recall that one of the first things that she said on CNN after that debate performance was that the president should be judged based off his record and not those 90 minutes. And it was that that statement that was later used by many of the president's allies, including the First Lady. And so this was the reality for her inner circle as well, was to stay with the president, stay in line with him, and not to flirt with any of the replacement theories that she would be the lead of the party's ticket. Now, of course, this doesn't answer the question as to what happens next, but I do think it's important to know that the vice president, certainly up until this point, has fiercely been behind the president. Now, as far as Democratic lawmakers had some of them had started to gain some consensus about the vice president becoming the nominee if President Joe Biden were to step aside, because of internal polling that suggested that she would fare well against former President Donald Trump, and also because in terms of the process, it might be easiest because she is already part of this campaign apparatus. So the Democratic lawmakers, as much as they were calling out publicly for the president to drop out, were quietly also trying to sort out what this process would look like, and again, starting to mobilize behind the vice president. But again, it was unclear if the president was going.
So I would say it was a surprise to me that he stepped down. I was surprised that it happened on a Sunday and that letter came out and it was breaking news. So Joe Biden is finally stepping down as going to be the presidential run for 2024 election. Wow. Hakeem, man, what is your take, man? I definitely want to hear from you. What is your take?
We covered this many shows before. We alluded to the fact that Kamala Harris was going to be the front runner. This was all a plan. And a lot of it was conspiracy theories. A lot of us seen he was deteriorating in public. The debate was horrible. It was a travesty as far as for the Democratic Party to see him go out there and make a fool of himself. He wasn't able to galvanize different communities to put, so they think Kamala is going to be the front runner. We don't know who she's her vice president, but I tell you this today. I see political analysts talking what they're talking. They're not going. You say I'm surprised by him stepping down. Yeah, you know what I mean. I knew he was going to go, but I didn't think Kamala Harris was going to be. Me, I think Jordan. I think you mentioned we were starting Gavin Newsom was going to be nominated. I would have thought him.
I'm thinking he might. I was telling my wife this too. That I'm thinking that he might be. If he might go for vice presidency. That's to me. That's my number one option. That he might go
Yeah,
for presidency. Go ahead.
it makes a little bit sense for that. But for me, possibly, we already knew it was heading to her.
Yeah, now that, but shout out to RonyRon for the $5 super chat. He say shout out to Chaos Culture Radio. You know, of course, that's me. Really do greatly appreciate that. You know, guys, come over here, support the platform. We really do greatly appreciate it. Now we have the super chat up and running. So now it's all about business. Shout out to the lowly Bobby Brown, who's also in the building. We really do greatly appreciate you guys always coming through and showing some love. And also shout out to Fresh Sound and Urban Noise also in the building as well. So I already it was already been a rumor since last I think it was on Friday. It was like I think Newsmax. It was reported that Joe Biden was going to step down. That was a rumor because he said he had an inside source. I forgot the anchor's name. He said he had an inside source stating that Joe Biden was going to step down. Then when he stepped down, when he actually did step down, I wasn't surprised by it because they said it was already rumor. Plus, you already see when it comes to the Democratic Party, they didn't really support Biden 100% after that terrible debate he had against Donald J. Trump. They knew that he's not capable of winning any election. That he need to go sit down, go to somewhere in Miami, be on a yacht, and enjoy the rest of his life because Joe Biden's pretty much done. Now, for them to nominate Kamala Harris, I was actually shocked by that as well because she did nothing under Joe Biden. She did nothing. And one time when she actually ran the country when Joe Biden was out, I think sick, she still didn't do anything. So it's just a prime example that they want this person to run the country. It's very laughable. So I think at the end of the day, I think with this upcoming debate between her and Donald J. Trump, he's going to destroy her, and then she's going to be another one that be like, she probably going to say, you know what, I'm going to drop out too. And then Newsom, Jordan, your governor might say, you know what, I'm going to run for it. Like these guys are just dropping out by flies because they know that the Democratic Party's all over the place. They starting to ramble right before our eyes, and it's just finally good to see because I got been tired and sick of the Democratic Party a long time ago. So it's good to see the demise of the Democratic Party. I'm not Republican either, but I just see that it's corruption. It's corruption on our areas, but mostly in the Democratic Party. Them guys are just corrupt all over the place. Shout out to the lovely Stephanie Watkins also in the building as well. Go ahead, Jordan.
First of all, I want to thank Joe Biden to finally have the sense to say, hey, I can't do this. My health is not in order. I will step down for this election. And he will, like I said, he will continue his term for his first term of his presidency, and his term will end, I believe, in February. For Joe Biden to step down, I think it was the right move. He did a terrible job. His health was deteriorating. I want to know where Shiesty Bum is at because he said I was gossip. But I can't wait for her to come in and tell her, I told you so, Shiesty Bum. I told you so. I told you so. But anyway, yes, Joe Biden, yes. I'm glad that he stepped down. Now, it just shows like, the Democrats, I agree with Ron, they are all over the place. They don't know what to do because the election is about 3 or 4 months away. 3 or 4 months away. So, and shout out to Just Hear Me Out. Just Hear Me Out said, well, since the leaks are out, we're right about Biden stepping down. Rumors on Saturday were that Whitner and Newsom already told Harris they would not accept the offer. Okay. We'll see about that. We'll see. But yeah. I want to thank Joe Biden for stepping down because that like I said, when we covered that out in the debate, it was horrible. It was terrible. And then we showed clips about, you know, he was up in a different country talking about calling Vice President Kamala Harris as Donald Trump, and also calling the president of Ukraine Putin and everything. He is all over the place. And I also mentioned you guys too that Barack Obama was worried about Joe Biden and his mental health and everything. So, like I said, we all pushed a shot. I was just kind of a little surprised it happened on the weekend, on a Sunday. And like I said, it hit news everywhere. And so it's just showed with the Democrats, they don't know what to do. And remember, guys, and also, you know, a lot of people have endorsed Kamala Harris, which we're going to go into that topic a little bit later. But the thing is, she still has to be nominated to be to run against Donald Trump. So I'm just going to say you guys there. She still has to be nominated to go against Trump to be the president of the United States. But there are some celebrities who had their things about it. So Cardi B, she has some words about, you know, about Joe Biden stepping down. Hakeem, can you please play her clip about her talk about what she called it?
All right, you want to play? Because I know, Ron, you gave me something to play. You want to play that or what?
No, I think yeah, 'cause I think just sent me I wanted to play the first minute of it, but you go do the Cardi B first,
You
and
do
we'll play
both.
that right after.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I can imagine